I am, though. They hate that. Oh my God, they hate it when I criticize them. Well, they don't like
Do you criticize them often?
Yes, I do. From the stage, I do. Like, oh my God, no, I'm a pariah in my comedy scene because I tell it like it is, and they go, oh, they don't like that. They would rather I validate them. Sometimes I know that. No, I'm sorry. But you were saying, you were asking me something.
How did you meet everybody around here?
Right. Like, I okay, came here with in a marriage, and a troubled marriage. It was like February of 2014 when it was it was my way of trying to get away from things. I hung out at all the bars in town to stay safe, like, because things, there were episodes all the time, and I had to be out of the apartment. And I would just hang out at Maggie's, hang out at Copper Top. I found out from Justin Ledlow through the @Epic Comedy Hour Twitter feed. I was tweeting back and forth because I live on Twitter. And Justin told me that the mic I should go to is Copper Top. And so I went to that mic. And I met, oh God, it was hosted by Jacob Durden that night. Oh God, it was a fun time. I know, I'm sorry. I know the man. He sat me down, Jacob Durden did, and told me about entertainment and how to be an entertainer when he was 6 months in, and I was a professional radio host when he was like 11. It was frustrating, like people get really excited when they get into entertainment, like they're like, I'm doing my dream. And it's like, oh, your dream is much more of a nightmare than you realize. Like, wait till you get a few years in. Try to do this for a living. I'm tangenting, I'm sorry. But the broadcasting school that I graduated from, Broadcasting Institute of Maryland, great place. Robin Quivers came out of there. She's the news person for Howard Stern. Most successful person that came out of our, apart from the vice president of Capitol Records, one of them. I don't know. But the Broadcasting Institute of Maryland, I graduated from there, and they taught me that as a professional entertainer, one thing you should know is you should take a slice of bread and ball it up real tight, like as tight as possible, like a pill, and then take it, swallow it like a pill, and then drink a bunch of water on top of that. The bread expands in your stomach, and you don't have to pay for dinner that night, and you don't have to suffer. That is professional entertainment. I was taught that by professionals, by veteran professionals, that this is something you're going to need to know. And I thought that they were being hyperbolic until I was a professional entertainer, and I did use that trick so that I could, not be hungry one night. Like, that's the reality, for like 98% of people who are entertaining, is that you're scraping by and artistry's terrible. But you asked me how I got here, and that is not the answer to that question. Justin Ledlow told me that Copper Top was the place to go. And so I went there. I talked for 10 minutes about how I was raped in college. It's actually a funny story because I retold it at Clockwork Comedy, which is the Patrick Cunningham. He produces that. And I co-assistant guerrilla produce. I make the music and I help. On the day of the show, I'm like, Patrick, you have 20 seconds, get over here. That's what I do. I don't even show run. Like, I'll just make sure he gets going. Like, basically, I wind up the key in Patrick's back on Clockwork Day. Like, he's doing everything, but when it's like almost showtime, I'm the guy that grabs the key and goes, Patrick, go. And then once he gets going, I'm out. Sometimes I'll stay and watch. Sometimes I'll just pace and examine introspectively the horrors of my life, or what I mean. Like, I usually don't watch the show, or I'll be in it, around it, and feel it, but be like, no, I can't do a show today. I just don't want to watch it. I don't know. I'm a weirdo, but wow, what the hell? First set was the rape story, and I retold it at a really good set to 100 people, and it was a good, it's a well-constructed set now. That first telling was a little rough. But from the start, the whole stand-up comedy thing, I wanted to lean into just the darkest material. Let's talk about something very uncomfortable, guys. Let's, I lost my virginity, and it was kind of a date rape thing, and let me tell you the story. And it's got beats, and because, rape survivors need to be able to just talk about it so that people aren't afraid to say that they were raped when they are raped. The whole point is to make people not feel scared to talk. The whole point of all of my crap that I produce is about people opening up and not being afraid to, because the only thing stopping you from opening up is other people's feelings, and other people's feelings aren't real in your life, and they don't control you. You know what I mean? That's the thread of everything. But Justin Ledlow, answer to your question, Justin told me. You know what? That would have been so much quicker, and I would have kept you here so, like, I'm sorry, I've kept you here for 5 minutes answering a question where I could have been like, yeah, Justin told me to come in. But, yeah, at that first mic, Cody Needle, who is a very complicated gentleman, oh my God. He's great. He does music. He's in a band. You should see his band. I don't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, Cody. Cody, he was one of the first comedians in Huntsville that, like, really just, you know, he was like, this dude's got a story. What's the deal? And he befriended me and hung out with me and, you know, like, supported me and shit. He told me, meet Patrick. You know, he was like, he's the guy you should know. Turns out I've lived with him twice, so Cody was right, you know. Like, Patrick ended up being, you know, major support. He solved a lot of problems in my life, except for the fact that there's not coffee right now, Patrick. Why didn't you brew coffee before you left for Birmingham? Come back and brew coffee, because I don't feel like getting up. 2 pretty girls got interested in my story, and then I started telling my story, Patrick. Will you come back and brew coffee? Tolly, tell Patrick to come back. This isn't the kind of medium where he's not going to receive this information in time for me to have coffee. So I'm just delaying the interview. This is just, I am horrible at this. If I'm going to be interviewed because of this project, I have to start focusing, ladies, because I'm terrible at this.
Me too right now.
Okay, so yeah, she doesn't even, she doesn't even know what I'm talking about. This one, she's asking the questions, and I think she's following me, but I'm not even following me. That's the worst part. Cody told me Patrick was the guy. And so I met Patrick at a bocce ball thing that they did at the Low Mill regularly. That was like where they were hanging out together. I walked from the apartment where my, you know, my very, the woman I still love, that I was with at the time, was still having complicated times, and so I had to be away. And being away that day, I felt like the mission was meet Patrick, because somebody told me Patrick's the guy to know for entertainment comedy, and you know, I was like, okay, I'll go meet him, and I did. And a lot of time passed, and a man from the college, UAH, named Daniel Bullard, made a documentary wherein Patrick describes that meeting, and he says, yeah, when I first met this guy, I was like, you know, hey, this guy's nuts. Like, I think he's putting on some sort of act to be edgy or something, because new comedians do that, you know. And then he describes how, like, as he got to know me, and the as he got to know me part, I disappeared for 2 months. Like, I did 4 stand-up comedy sets in Huntsville, and then for 2 months I was in jail, where my nickname was Spoon.
Oh, gosh.
They called me Spoon. That's a long story. You know.
Go ahead. Go with it.
Should I? Am I telling? Yeah. Okay, Eloisa, I am telling 2 young girls in my lawn why I went to jail at the end of my marriage. What is happening? This isn't real. She did murder me, didn't she? And this is a dream, right? She promised she was gonna murder me. I think she did it. I honestly think she did it. Okay. Because this shit's not real. There's no way I'm telling you guys. All right. So 2 girls that are half my age wanted to know why I was in jail. Well, here we go. I was married, and then there was a lot of, like, okay, so, well, you know, I'm a pacifist. I don't think that you should hit a man, let alone a woman. You know, it's like that. I think it's bullshit when people are like, you should never hit a woman. But then they're like, well, some dude looks at me the wrong way in a bar, I'm gonna pop him in the face. And you're like, no, you shouldn't hit people, because that doesn't make sense, because that's not reason.
And we can talk things out
Like,
now.
let's use our words,
Yeah.
people, and not be fucking animals. It's, you know, this doesn't have to be the jungle. Like, it doesn't have to be just fornication, choking all the time. You know, like, we could just talk it out, right? Yeah, that's the kind of, I've been hit by men that I have not hit back. I've been hit by one particular woman many times that I've not hit back, and you know, but somebody screams at you long enough, and pushes at you and really presses and pursues you, you're gonna smack them. You are going to smack them. I you know, lost my patience in several episodes. It was bad. But the particular incident, you know, why I was in jail and why they called me Spoon in jail is horribly, darkly funny, and I've never been able to bring it to a stage. Okay. I have talked about being raped. I've talked about witnessing a murder. I've talked about hanging myself on stage. I've talked in joking format about that. I've never been able to process this enough to talk about it, because I love my ex, you know, like I don't resent any of the issues because it was obviously a dysfunction, you know, like the day that she put me on the street because of filing paperwork that she had promised for years, you know, held over my head as a emotional blackmail kind of measure. The day that the police came to knock on the door, that she knew that it was the day, you know, she was distraught because she did not want to make me homeless, and she was weeping about it, and I was comforting her because that was the nature of our relationship. You know, I was like, look, you know, like, I don't want it either. I, you know, wanted us to have a reasonable divorce like two adult human beings. But this has been in motion forever, and I'm not surprised that you've done it, and I accept it, and I get that you were compelled, and I don't blame you. I comforted her. I held the woman who put me out on the day she put me out, telling the police that, you know, I'm a danger and whatnot. And yeah, like I was holding her and comforting her the day because she cried and, you know, was looking into my eyes. I don't want to make you homeless. And the worst thing is she sincerely meant it. She said, you know, like, she wasn't fucking around. She wasn't like lying to me that she didn't, because what's her motivation? You know, she could have been yelling at me the ways that she does when she's having a rage episode. But no, she was genuinely distraught that she was putting me out of her life, even though she had to do it and was doing it from the start of the relationship. You know, 6 months in, she started the push-pull, and she just couldn't stop, and had to make me not exist. Okay, so maybe a month and a half before the day that she put me out and all of that I was describing, maybe a month and a half before we were having an argument. Controlling my food intake was one of the things that, you know, 'cause when you're in a controlling relationship,
Control everything.
it can get to that level, and it was at that level. You know, like, I am not allowed to eat unless she permits me to eat. And she was turning burners off while I was trying to be defiant and eat food, you know. I was being a very defiant human being by feeling I could just choose to eat food, you know. And she kept turning the burners off, and that again, very frustrating. This time I did not smack her, and I was proud of myself for not being like, get away, let me be, please stop this. You know, like, I didn't totally lose my shit. I did, however, while she was screaming at me and turning burners off, I did splash her in the face with water. And then so she punched me in the face with fists. And it was like, well, okay. I grabbed a spoon and I went, get the fuck back, like that. And that's enough. That's assault with a weapon. That is that's assault. So I go to jail for DV assault, but not, I mean, she didn't charge me that day. She didn't call the cops. We didn't do anything that day except for de-escalate, like any other fucking episode, which was way too many, you know, like, yeah. Any given thing could set it off. That television show, Minute to Win It, man, I have been punished so hard for her having to see seconds of that, you know, 2 or 3 seconds of it, and it's like, oh shit, we're gonna have to talk about my father. You know, like, this is gonna take 45 minutes to come back from because I slipped, and I watched a piece of media that she does not like to see, and then she saw it, and now we're gonna have a whole deep conversation about how I'm worthless and need to not exist, and it was something. I loved a very complicated woman. And it's because those bad things came with the most intense love. Like, you guys are never, because you were too healthy to get into a relationship like that, you'll never experience a love as intense as somebody like that loving you. Because they want to consume every, you know, molecule of your body. But then, of course, many of them want you also to think the certain thing, you know, like, they want to control you completely, because the natural end to obsession is homicide. I learned that in psychology, and it says, you know, so that's not good. She was very obsessed, and she wanted me to believe she would kill me so that I would do anything she wanted me to do. But I went to jail for spooning my wife. They called me in jail Spoon. It was a spoon. Hey, Spoon. Hey, don't spoon your wife, Spoon. That's what they said in jail. Yeah. And now here's a note that I just, in my, like, because she spent years convincing me that no one is ever going to love me, no one's ever going to give me a job, I will not succeed in society because I'm a wife beater, you know, and that's who I am. I'm a monster who beats his wife. When the reality is, it's like, she'll pursue me and I'll be like, I'm going to leave, if you don't stop screaming at me, you know, like I have to go. And if I go, then she'll break things or call my family or, you know, blackmail. And so there's no solution. There's, you know, like it's just try really hard to de-escalate. And usually, and even after those rages where she's chasing me around and threatening me, she would then be in my arms like a chimp and crying, and I'd comfort her for the pain she's going through in needing to do that to me. It was very complicated. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. I love her. I don't, you know, hate her or resent her for anything she did. You know, she knocked my teeth out, and I don't mind. I felt like I deserved it. I was raised Baptist. Yikes. They called me Spoon in jail. Yeah. In my defense, I did poke her with a spoon, and you know, which end? The spoony end. I poked her with the spoony end of a spoon. Of all the utensils I had at my disposal, like a fork or a knife, I chose a spoon for one. And for two, I did not use the pointy end. I used the rounded end that, like I was trying to scoop mashed potatoes. I was like, get back. Stop punching me in the face, please. I want to eat. It was bad. It was a desperate time in the marriage, which there were a lot of those, you know, like it was a horrible, toxic relationship. That's why I wrote a book and made a film. But again, yeah, I don't resent her or whatever. Oh man, I had to defend her in jail. I had to defend her in jail, okay? Because the guards, you know what, Alabama guards, I hate this state. I hate it. I despise it. And this is why. Alabama guards, the people who were on the other side of the bars would say to me, after talking to me about the situation, oh, well, you know what it is. And some of them were joking. Most of them were not. Most of them honestly had a conversation with me where they said, you did not hit her right. And that if you hit her harder and better, if you had beaten your wife instead of just giving her a petulant slap the way you described, she would have listened to you. Because that's Alabama. That's what the guards in jail told me. In jail. And I was like, wait, who is on what side of what here? Is there justice in the system, or is it just a system that processes people in and out for money? I used the spoony end because I was like, please just stop this. You're killing me, literally, by preventing me from eating food. Now, I've got an eating disorder as it is. It's like I'm not that healthy, you know. And that's probably a part of why I'm struggling with it now, is that my food intake was controlled for almost 10 years. And very carefully controlled and like strictly controlled. We did eat when things were good, but getting dinner to happen was a daily challenge, because it would start with what dinner's going to be. It's only going to be one of 5 things, because there are only 5 things we eat, because things are very strict and rigid in our world. But getting to which one of those 5 things would take 45 minutes at least every single night. Getting to dinner would do, it was a chess match of what does she feel like, and now what does she feel like 5 minutes from, you know, it was she had to be in control and exert that control, and God, it was complicated. I like a challenge, and so I loved her deeply and still do. I just would rather not be in contact with her, and Madison County agrees with me. I don't know if she's not allowed to contact me, God, I hope, but I'm not allowed to contact her. Like, I go anywhere and they're like, oh, got a restraining order, I guess? Yeah, no, that's me. You got me in the system. Okay, cool. So you know who I am now. It's embarrassing. It's horrible. It's horrifyingly humiliating to, like, be the monster. But my message to, like, the world in all of my media is that there is no the monster in a toxic relationship. When somebody is abusing somebody, because this happens all the time, and I've watched it in close circles everywhere. 2 people in a toxic relationship, the one person's telling their friends that person is a monster and the crazy one, and then the other person's telling their friends that one's the monster and the crazy one. And there is no Lifetime movie where one partner comes home and is like, I'm mad because of my day or mental illness or something, and I'm going to exclusively abuse you, and you're not going to do anything abusive back to me because you are a saint. That doesn't happen in real life. People abuse each other. Because what happens in the situation where one person's abusive and the other person isn't is that the other person leaves. If you stay, you're probably abusing the person you're calling an abuser. And I think that is a truth. I believe in that truth because I lived in a really toxic relationship. And I am certainly not free of guilt. I went to jail and I own that, you know. I don't define myself as a wife beater. I define myself as somebody who will smack. Like, if you told me to kill myself for 3 hours, even though you're a sweet girl, I don't want to hurt either of you. But if you spent 3 hours telling me I'm worthless, I might lose my patience. I don't know you well enough. I think it would take a good 12. You would have to persist at me for a very long time. But yeah, I talked in some of the thing earlier, some of the movie thing, about how she tried to make me kill myself. Like, she tried to command me in the moment, and that was horrifying. Nobody should ever live in that. I was the stupidest person in the world to stay, but I have experiences because of it, and I don't regret it. That's why I dedicated a charity show to her, December of last year. I was like, I need to dedicate this to Tammy Bucky, the woman who got me off the streets, and I want to dedicate it to my ex who put me on the street, because that's what enabled me to be involved in the community and do the good things. We raised $1,500 for the homeless. Yeah. And it's like, I am grateful to my ex for enabling that, because it means a lot to me that I was able to do that. I'm sorry, when you started asking questions, you were not expecting it to get this deep, but that's because you don't know me well enough to know that it's always going to. Hashtag that BPD, though. Lots of good jokes there. Dark.